So it's over 100 times.
I just think people weren't showing up. I don't think everybody did.
Did you get that PhD on your desk?
What is it?
PhD. What we did yesterday. The mayor signed it, and he knew to sign it.
Oh, okay.
And then, you know, you're around tomorrow.
Huh?
You're gonna be around tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right.
Tomorrow's what, Thursday?
Yeah, well, tomorrow's Friday.
Oh, we're closed Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I fill it out for
But
Bob?
then, once I get it, I can
He's
send it
walking
back.
out the door.
I'll get it and bring it up after this.
He's like,
Still no
Must be in the cloud. I didn't go out in August. Otherwise, I'll be getting a new glass.
Sam needs a paper. Sam needs a paper. Just one? Hey, where's the policeman? Where's the cop? What happens if somebody goes nuts? You troublemaker. They throw patents on for you over in Europe.
We have names.
Patents for you over in Europe.
Crazy.
Please stand for the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty and everlasting God, who presides over all things in heaven and earth, come and preside over these deliberations, so that those that make the decisions may be guided by your wisdom.
Mr. Barrett.
Here.
Mr. Westcott.
Here.
Mr. Merritt.
Here.
Mr. Brooks.
Here.
Ms. Gilbert. Also in attendance tonight is City Administrator Ted Wonthal, Capital Projects Program Manager Grace Zagowski, Deputy Fire Chief Alan Clapper, and Darren Snyder. I think that's it. And also, this is Administrator Assistant, Catherine Payne, Deputy City Clerk. Okay, good evening and welcome to all. Tonight's meeting is a regular session of the City Council. Please turn off all cell phones according to the First Amendment. This meeting is a limited or designated public meeting, as all regular sessions of City Council are. The chairperson is the presiding officer of the meeting. For the city council meeting, specific rules and procedures of council are followed. This below are examples of important council rules and we are not intended to be a complete list. Persons addressing the council shall limit their address to 5 minutes. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any individual member thereof. No persons are allowed to address the council from behind the rail except the speaker who is at the dais, who has the floor. Chairpersons shall preserve order and decorum, prevent attacks on personalities or the impugning of members' motives. Chairperson also shall determine all points of order. Persons authorized to be within the council rail. No person except city officers or their representatives shall be permitted within the rail in front of the council during any meeting without the express permission of the council. Finally, in order to be heard by all here in attendance, as well as to be picked up by the microphones and reporters, when members of the administration are speaking, please stand up and speak into the microphone. Council will speak into their microphones at the table. Does anyone from the public wish to comment on legislation pending before council tonight?
Jim, are we going to be talking about the investigation into the police department?
No. Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. It is.
Okay, and how about the garbage stickers, like the budget things, is that going to be some other night?
That's not on the agenda.
Okay. I'll just talk about the police.
I got a question on that.
Hold on, man. I'm easy. Bob Kalabowski, I just want to talk a little bit about this investigation to the police department. I'm appalled that as a taxpayer, I'm being asked to pay $26,000 a year for this investigation, when we know what the problem is. Why are we wasting taxpayers' money? Tony George is the one who caused this by appointing Marcelo Lindacki as the chief. I brought this up several times, and I try to keep it nice and calm tonight. Why are we going to take taxpayers' money out? And Bill, you know what the trouble is. Mike, I believe you know what the trouble is. Tony, I believe you know what the trouble is. I believe Mr. Merritt knows what the trouble is. I think you know what the trouble is. And I think Mr. Mumble knows what the trouble is too. The trouble is Tony George knew that when he put her in there, that this is what was going to happen. They have no confidence in her. I feel sorry for Chief Lindacki, for Tony George putting her in this position. I am going to write her a letter and ask her to resign as chief and retire for the betterment of the city of Wilkes-Barre and the police department. I understand she was supposed to retire for daughter got in the state police. I truthfully believe that she should retire. But if this investigation is going to go forward, why are we going to ask the taxpayer to be burdened with $26,000 in cost when we know who caused the trouble? Those 30 police officers that came here, plus the ones that were afraid to get photographed out in the hallway, plus other ones that wanted to be here who couldn't be. Now, is it the administration that's at fault, or is it the police? When all those officers come over here, what are we saying to the leadership here? There is no leadership. Tony George is a gangster. He is a liar. The Tony George that myself and other people, and was the little people that helped get him elected, has disappeared. It's not the guy that I knew. And I brought up before, Bill, when you were appointed chief, your family was there, everything. When this chief was appointed, it was all snuck in. I feel sorry for Marcelo Lindacki, but I also feel sorry for the men who are working and women over in the police department who are working in this hostile work environment. I am afraid something may happen. You don't know. If you remember, Bill, we had an officer who flipped and fired multiple rounds upstairs. You remember the officer's name. He's since deceased. Nice guy, but unfortunately he got pushed too far over some issues and bullets flew. But what I want to know, and I would like some council people to answer me this, Why are we going to spend money on this when we know what the trouble is? Tony George is a boob. He is a failure as the mayor. That's what the problem is. So why should we spend the money when we don't have to? We know what the problem is. So I would like to get some feedback from the council. And if we are going to go forward with this investigation, and it's Tony George's fault, which it is, why can't we make him pay for it? Why should the city taxpayers be burdened with this expense when we know that this man is a liar? He lied to me, and he lied to the police, and he lied to multiple other people. And look at the firestorm we have in the police station. We have a hostile work environment. We are probably going to be sued for lots of money over firing probably one of the most proactive police officers in the state of Pennsylvania. We have now, Beth, I don't know if you as council chairman or any of the council people, we have now disbanded our anti-crime units. The people who are proactive, who are out making the arrest, who are making the stops. Dan Duffy he could probably do a whole shift himself, and probably back to back if you asked him. And we fire this man because he's scared Ted Wample. Ooh, and he's scared Tony George, threatened him. We know what the problem is here. I am pleading with you not to pay one dime for this investigation with my money or the taxpayers' money. The man is a liar. He lied. And when he is questioned under oath, what is he going to say? I think what this council could do is this. Call him in here and have a hearing. And put him under oath. And that will do it. With penalty of perjury. Bring the people in that he told that he wouldn't do what he did. We all know the firestorm. The fire is burning. And now we have to put it out. Why should I or the taxpayers of this city pay for what that liar did? Now, if I could get an answer from this. Bill?
Yeah, let me, it's very painful, I agree with you, to watch what has been going on. It pains all of us. It especially pains me, having been a member of that department for 28 years, to see the department being dysfunctional as it is right now, for whatever reasons it is. We've been spending tens of thousands of dollars each year for the past 2 years, battling grievances, and you're well aware. It's
Oh, absolutely.
here. And this council feels that we just cannot continue doing what we're doing. Now, the council as a whole, and none of us actually are experts in what is going on in management. We know that there are issues there, no doubt, you're right. There are issues there. We need to get to the bottom of them. We have to spend a few dollars to do it. But my only hope is when this assessment is done. This assessment, if you've looked at the proposal, I think you might have gotten a copy of it. It's being done by some very competent and capable people. They know that there are issues there. They will get to the bottom of it. We only hope, this council hopes that their recommendations are taken to heart and acted upon. And it's just not a paper that comes back to us. That's what we're looking for. It gives us credence and credibility. You're alluding to things being wrong and what you believe to be the cause, and I think we all know that there are a lot of issues that can be corrected one way or another, but we would feel much more comfortable having experts coming in and say, these are the issues, this is what's wrong, this is what's right, and this is what you need to do to correct it and move on. We just feel that it's worth having these people come in and do this. We feel that it's going to be, give us a basis. Again, we only hope that it is adequate time, no matter what they may be, wherever the cards fall, wherever the chips fall, that it is adequate time.
If I may.
Thank you. I appreciate what you said, yeah. And you are standing behind the guys there, we are too, and then we'll look at the problem. We need this to stop.
See, just, Beth, because it's an important issue, just another minute or so.
No, just one comment, that's it.
Okay, but this is an important thing. I don't know, maybe you could confer with Attorney Henry about having a hearing and bring the mayor in here and question him under oath. And that'll be it, and give it to that committee. But see, the thing that really bothers me here is, you think he's going to listen to these people? You think he's going to listen? If he was listening to people who are close to him, what they're, from what I understand, are telling him, he will not change his mind. So the thing that bothers me, if I am burdened to pay this $26,000, he doesn't have to follow it. Ted's not going to, you think Ted's going to go against him or anybody? He's not going to follow the guidelines. So that's why I feel that we should call him in here and put him under oath and say, did you tell these people this? And maybe we could remove him as the mayor.
I cannot back and forth, Bob, thank you.
I understand. You like my hat and glasses?
Always.
Thank you. Sam, would you like to step up? Don't go behind the rail. No personal attacks.
I'd like to echo those sentiments for the most part. I don't, without the, except for the labels to Mayor George, I don't see the necessity of spending $26,000. Mr. Henry, would you agree that, I've often wondered about this, the council does have the power to to organize an inquiry, don't they, into matters like this?
Finish your presentation and then we'll
Well, assuming that's the case, that was Bob's assumption here too, to avoid the expense area and to avoid perhaps some embarrassment. And I think, what about the consequences of this if this particular firm that you're thinking of hiring does come up with a solution that sort of puts the city between a rock and a hard place? They say maybe something very simple, like reorganize the hierarchy, the police hierarchy. You'll have to fire Chief Landacki, or something that perhaps council suspected all along, and Mr. Lebowski implied in his talk. $26,000 for something that most of you already perhaps know seems like a definite waste of money. So I would urge council to put this at least on the back burner until, assuming that it does have the power, at least have the inquiry first. Mr. Barrett had indicated at the last meeting, I think, that leave it to the experts is more or less your idea about this, that they're more methodical and they're more analytical and they can get to the bottom of this better than you can. Well, that's perhaps true. But I think that as a primary stage, to try to stave off this expense, that you ought to, if it's agreed to in the charter, if the charter okays it, that you should form an inquiry and call the necessary people, including Mayor George, Chief Landacki, all these other officers, whoever you deem necessary, and perhaps get at some answers then. And maybe that will even help the inquiry along. Maybe they'll give us a better price. Who knows? Anyway, I'd like to proceed, since my time is limited, to a couple other items on the agenda here. One of them is the suspension of the open container ordinance. This is, as far as I know, at least the third time this year that this will be accomplished. And I would like to know, for instance, I forgot my glasses, unfortunately, so my hearing and my speech are somewhat handicapped here. But the old-fashioned holiday market that's going to apply for this suspension, does anybody know who's sponsoring this? Is that just the name of the occasion, or is it the name of the sponsor? I think at least it should be made clear there. As far as I can remember, that they already suspended it for the Worcester Library that had I think the library could have gone along and raised a lot of funds without them serving booze, and also the Arts Fiesta, the Fine Arts Fiesta. That's another instance. Maybe there were a couple others that I didn't notice. I just don't think that, if I have to remind everybody, we have 63 counties, something like that, in this state. If you want to look this up and verify it, it might have changed in the last couple of years. But Wilkes-Barre is number 7 in alcoholism or problem drinking, let's put it that way. And I don't think this sets a very good example, and I think it shows a lot of hypocrisy. And I think this thing should be, I don't think this thing should be granted, this suspension of the anti-open container ordinance. And I would have a couple of lingering questions here in my time remaining for Ted or whoever can answer them. The community development funds are going to be distributed for all these various expenses here. I take it the community development program or the CD program, these people, I assume that the fire company, the fire chief writes a lot of these requests for the fire engines and the equipment, and the police department for the taser, is that how it works? And then, but, I mean, is it necessary, does anybody perhaps look at the fact, or perhaps vet this a little more closely and see whether or not all this stuff is really needed? Community Development Fund is a separate fund from the general fund, I assume?
Yes,
Yeah, okay, but it's still taxpayer money.
no.
Just finish your presentation and then I'll answer your questions.
All right, so in any case, okay, so that could CD money be used for other purposes? Like, infrastructure or something? If it could, if some of this is unnecessary, maybe the funding could be redistributed to things that this city really needs, maybe to stop urban blight. All right, I see my time is up. I will respect the time there. If anybody has any comments, I would appreciate it. If not,
Regarding the police investigation, I think.
what? I'm sorry.
Regarding the police investigation,
Yeah.
just speaking for most of the council here, I think that we all agree that $26,000 is a drop in the bucket compared to a lot of the issues that are going on in the department. I know it seems like a lot of money, and if you know me, you know Hollywood, I'm very conservative when it comes to spending city money, especially given our financial situation. But given the issues that are in the department, I think this money needs to be spent. Regarding the holiday market suspension, that's a city event, and it's when vendors come to the square and, they sell their product, and this is
Booze
just,
it up.
what was that?
Everybody comes to booze it up.
No, it's just being suspended for wine tasting,
For what?
for wine tastings. So I don't think anyone's going to be intoxicated.
So you can taste it before
Just
you actually
tasting wine
purchase it.
before it's being purchased, that's all. It's not for, it's not like the Brewster Hat event or anything like that. And Ted, do you want to speak to the OCD expenses?
Yeah,
I'm confused about that CD, the funding there, if you want, maybe want to.
well, quite honestly, and we do kind of difference of opinion, but we think some of the best uses of that community development money will be spent on public safety. We could disagree with that, I guess, but with the fire department here and having to make sure that they have the best equipment to keep these guys and women safe, so that they can protect everybody that lives in the city of Wilkes-Barre and businesses, I think is 100% the best use of community development money. I guess we can disagree. Can it be spent on other things? I guess you can, but I guess it all comes down to priorities. And the mayor's made it very clear that public safety is at the top of that priority.
Just a quick response, if you don't mind. I'm not questioning it. Look, I'm all in favor of the police having enough tasers and the fire department having enough equipment to protect public safety. But the question is, does anybody here, or do you, validate this request? I mean, it's not saying I don't trust anybody. I'm not that cynical. But can we rely on these figures and these numbers? I mean, council should question these things. This city is on the brink of financial disaster here. And if the funds could be used for another purpose, all I'm saying is, can some of this be cut back? I mean, if you're compromising safety, good, then no, I agree. I don't want to compromise safety, but I'm saying is, how do we know that all this is necessary? Do you trust it?
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
you trust it, then I trust it, I guess.
Can I
There you
just interrupt?
And one thing to keep in mind is that every year, there is a public hearing on the, I'm going to talk now.
Okay.
Every year, there's a public hearing for the community development budget. And all of these items are listed there. And that's at that point that somebody can also make comments and have input into that community development budget. So it's as transparent as you can possibly make it, and you're always about making sure we are, and I believe it is. But everything that they put forward to us is 100% reviewed.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else on pending legislation?
We only have one formal act of business tonight, and that's the consent agenda resolutions. Motion second and vote.
Motion.
Let's go. Okay, Mr. Barrett.
Yes.
Mr. Gluskin.
Yes.
Mr. Merritt.
Yes.
Mr. Brooks.
Yes.
And Ms. Gill.
Yes.
Thank you. That's it
Nothing.
Mr. Brooks?
I just want to make a comment related to the garbage bags or stickers and what I'm hearing, what I'm concerned about, and just to keep in mind, that this is for the administration that I'm speaking to, concerned about leaving this two-tier system that we have. And I think stickers don't do that, where we have a small and a large bag. And I think we pointed out and demonstrated that the bags could be a lot better. And I would hope that also that the administration would periodically do a RFP for a new manufacturer of bags. I think it was sneaky for the bag to be all of a sudden improved as the guy comes here. So I would like to see a new manufacturer of the bag. And I understand Lisa Strang's budget would propose that they charge $300 a household for a bag. And I know we're currently, if you use one bag a year or a week, 104, and that the proposed changes would be with an extra $26. So we're certainly nowhere near the amount of scrapping. But I really hope the administration takes that to heart. The two-tier system, there are certain people out there who just use a small bag and are very conservative in their trash, and I think we burden them too much. Thank you.
I just have one thing. The garage on East Northampton Street in the old firehouse, I was told that they're painting in there, and that they're also using the old Reddick slot across the street to put cars on, since we're only allowed a certain number of cars. So if we could just look into that. All right, and that's all. Council Hosky?
John Toscano Lane. Nothing major, just little trash things. There's like Park Place, Beth's complained about a million times. There's been trash bags, the same 6 bags that were sitting there for a month maybe at least. They're sitting there. Could somebody please pick them up? Like, you know, if you guys want to give me city bags, I'll bag it up for you so you can pick it up yourselves. And just on Grant by the 4-stop sign by South Street. There's somebody left the couch out there. You know what I mean? Just when that stuff, you know, you don't need the neighborhood impact team to take care of little stuff like that. You know?
Where's that? Grant and
Yeah, right by the top, like on Grant, but like right by, you know, 4-stop signs
Okay.
where South is. That's all.
Thanks, John. Jim Walsh?
Coming up on the elevators with that young lady and another woman, and remarked about the nasty weather. And the young lady said, "It's really coming down." I said, "Did you ever see it going up?" Missing American flag. Oh, say can you see the opening words to our national anthem. I didn't see any American flags displayed in Silton City or the parade routes during the Veterans Parade. In fact, I haven't seen any American flags to speak of in Silton City in 2 years. Last year, there were a few displayed in Central City, and they were improperly displayed. 4 years ago, I helped create a flag fund, and we raised enough money to purchase some 300 flags and lined along the Market Street Bridge in Kingston and Wilkes-Barre and Central City. Where are they? I can understand some get defrayed and so on and so forth. There's losses. Dave Lepore, Vice President of the NBT Bank, helped in raising the funds. He passed away 2 weeks ago. And my son Michael also helped in the raising the funds, and he's a former United States Marine. This past May, I was notified by the city that a flag fund was going to be formed and I honorary chairman, which I felt honored. I never heard another word. Why? You've read and seen the disrespect by national football players refusing to stand and show respect during the display of our flag and playing of the national anthem. Makes me sick when I see that. I say that's shameful conduct. Can anything less be said of our city not even displaying our flag or recognize patriotic observances than what those players are doing? You're totally ignoring the observances by the encouragement of the display of our flag. Another topic, the proposed change in our city garbage disposal. We have a large city landfill for garbage and trash disposal. If the new garbage disposal takes effect, you won't just see one disposable site, but people, in order to save money, will begin throwing their trash in city blighted areas. That'll become the garbage disposal because they don't want to pay the increased rate. I attended a program this morning at Wyoming Valley West Middle School. It's a patriotic program honoring the veterans. And it filled my heart so much. I filled up emotionally as I was watching them. Those children carrying little flags and standing and singing patriotic songs with all the fervor I recognize in their hearts. And it made me feel so proud. And I say to myself, they are the future of our country. We have to set an example, and we're not. I don't know where it's going to start or end or anything else of these things that I just mentioned. But Mr. Bush, could you please tell me why we never heard any more about the flag?
We're going to send out a letter. I will come to get your signature for the letter in the springtime to raise the money to the flags and go back.
But why is it, you mentioned it to me
Yeah, I was on your
in the
portion.
spring, and all this time went on and nothing's done.
It will be done, and we thank you so much for agreeing to be the honorary chair.
That's an honor for me, but there's no task.
We
or
also
anything
like to
else.
have your signature on the letter that goes out to the companies to raise the money.
Well, I'm only one veteran, there's millions.
But don't, we're going to send them out.
I'm nobody special.
Yes, you are, Mr. Walsh.
I'm just
You've done a lot.
an ordinary American citizen who served this country honorably. I'm very proud of it. And I look, as I said, and viewing the parade on Sunday, and Mr. Barrett invited me to sit up on the reviewing stand. I was deeply honored. And I saw those children, the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, going by. And I said to the generals that was standing next to them, I said, Jim, there's our future. This is your road. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Thanks for your time.
Thank
Now
you.
let's get going on those flags. And let's not turn our city into a dump.
Happy Veterans Day.
Bob Kavalowski?
Get ready, officer. Bob Kavalowski, did you pass that for this review?
For the police review?
Yeah. Okay. I still think that we should try to, this thing is, I don't know if we could, make Tony George pay for it. But what I don't really like is law and order. Law and order. I don't know, maybe you could check with the administration, but I understand on October 13th, they disbanded this police unit that was basically responsible for many arrests, and gathered a lot of intelligence. on drug activity and crime in the city, and all of a sudden, Tony George ran law and order, disbanded this unit. I think, Beth, you should, as council chairwoman, should look into this. Why did they disband it? These were the guys that are out there hammering. And people who I know in the underworld, if you want to say it, they know you come to Wilkes-Barre, you have a good chance of getting pulled over. And it's these small traffic stops that lead into the bigger arrests. But what gets me is law and order. We have disorder. And I wanted to say something about this so I could get it on the record about Dan Duffy. I truthfully believe we are in for a major lawsuit. And something, I don't know if you were here, Beth, when this happened, you could have been. When Dan Duffy came over here speaking, I don't think I've seen a more articulate, more professional speaker to stand here and talk professionally. Do you have any questions? Introduce himself as the vice president of the union, I believe. I don't think we ever seen a more professional presentation. And what happened? It got cut out of the video. It was a glitch. It was a glitch till I was ready to file a private criminal complaint for tampering with public records. And then all of a sudden, boom, like bewitched, it's back on. They were out to get this man. Bill, you know, as a patrolman, there's nothing better than a strong union behind you. And that's what this union, or this administration's about. They got rid of someone who was probably the most professional, proactive police officer in Pennsylvania. They got rid of him. They have an excuse that he threatened Mr. Wampel and the mayor. Well, I'll tell you what, Ted, if you're that offended by that letter, you better resign, because worse days are coming. I don't see how you could say you were threatened by that letter when the man was just sticking up for his men. Warning down the road what could happen. And I don't know how you've interpreted it, I don't know who's giving your advice, but I know one thing, I truthfully believe that this city is in for a major lawsuit. And now I understand they're getting ready to fire the president of the union, Phil Myers, and maybe a few others. I believe, I just don't believe that this is going on. These guys represent the police, and now all of a sudden your leaders are going. The police department is in total upheaval. There's no motivation. It's disgusting. I didn't think it could get any worse than that drunken Jerry Gasoy having beer parties in the police station. And here we are.
Try not to call names, okay?
The man who provided alcohol on Wilkes-Barre City property, which you are part owner of, I am part owner of, using the chief of police's office to distribute liquor to people. On the St. Patrick's Day parade, after the parade, they have a beer party in there. What would you call him? A bartender? He was the chief of police. I didn't think it could get any worse. It is worse. It is worse. They would probably take Hugo Zelensky to run the police department. It'd be better off than what's going on now. And I just think it's a shame that we have just passed this, and that I, as a taxpayer, and the taxpayers have to pay for what we know is wrong. We know what's wrong. And it just disgusts me that we can't make him pay for it. And he is not going to listen to them. He is not going to listen to them, no matter what. And like I said, the person that's in there is not the person that I knew, that I was on the phone with every day, talking to him. You know who's running the city? It's the Penguin, and Attorney John Moses, it's my personal opinion, is the one that he gets advice off. He takes advice off the Penguin, who let us $10.5 million in debt and got us sued for millions of dollars. Remember his famous statement about Bruce Phillips. Ha! Like the shark was told the shit, huh? Come on, step up, take your shot. Well, take your shot cost the taxpayers millions of dollars. So I just think we just did a disservice by passing this. And Beth, if you could, I'll finish on this. I appreciate a couple extra seconds. Why don't you find out why they disbanded that unit? Because that unit was very proactive. Very proactive.
Thank you, Bob.
Ted, you're not scared all the way down, I'm up here. Ted, remember one thing. You will never be the mayor of the city. Never.
Sam Troy?
Yes, I
have something relevant to say, and I would like to go back just for a moment to a topic that might be a little bit controversial, but expanding the time that citizens could give public input. This is supposed to be a democracy. The semblance of it seems to be in question, at least at these meetings, because seldom, as I see it, does the public input have any relevance to you people, especially on the agenda and especially the comments afterward, I mean. And you always have, the chairperson has the gavel, and if somebody gets out of line, you can hold the person more strictly to the topic. It used to be 7 minutes, way back, Ms. Gilbert, when you were a high school student or before. We had 7 minutes to present our case, but Kathy Kane and others who were on council at the time decided that that was too much to endure. I guess they wanted to get home earlier, and they cut it back to 5. So I'm asking formally for council, somebody to have the courage here and the foresight, perhaps, maybe within those 2 extra minutes everybody gets, there'll be some very good suggestions made, and who knows, you guys might wake up and listen. So I'm asking somebody here tonight, I guess it's probably too late this session, but at some point to increase the time slot to 7 minutes, which certainly is consistent more with democratic principles. Freedom of speech. To enhance freedom of speech, I don't think is never a bad thing. And along the lines of that, the budget hearing the other night, I got here a few minutes late. I was told by Mr. Ryan, I'm also looking forward to the copy of that budget. I know I could get it online, but I'd rather get a written copy if that's possible. I got here a couple of minutes late. I got the impression that someone could speak. I didn't realize the work session was going to start so soon. And I'm asking formally for, I understand the mayor cannot call another inquiry. I'm sorry, a budget hearing, not an inquiry. And I'm asking council here formally tonight to have another budget hearing. I'm sure there are other citizens out there who would like to make comments on the budget. There are, certainly the majority probably is getting that you can't fight City Hall feeling and probably won't have anything to say. But you'll see every now and then people complain, letters to the editor or whatever. Taxes are going up and services, for whatever reason, have not been consistent with that. So I would, and other complaints, of course, about the city with the increase in urban blight and abandoned properties and all this. So I think it behooves council to call for another hearing. And in light of that, I would like to make a couple of comments in the time I have left on the budget. And I was also going to touch on the purchase of the Wilkes-Barre Center over there by Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett, who's, I guess, who's really having trouble paying his light bill because we had to get that LSA $1 million grant for him as one incentive to get in there. I know that didn't cost the city any money, Ted. I know that's gambling money. But then again, that $1 million could have been made available for other purposes, for other nonprofit organizations, for other municipalities, instead of giving it to them. Now, of course, the opinion is on your part and Mayor George's part. I understand they're bringing all these jobs here. 170 or is it something, or maybe 700, I forget the figure. Staggering number of jobs. A staggering amount of public subsidy too here by the state. And I guess the federal was limited to $1 million. Sorry, not the federal, the local share, beside the LSA. Are there any, maybe you could answer that after I'm done, are there any other local incentives? Are these people still going to pay the mercantile tax? Are they still, the workers going to still pay a wage tax? And the other tax that stayed at 1%, are the taxes still going to be paid there on a local scale by this company? And what happens if they decide to raise the rent on some of those tenants and the tenants decide to leave? They're going to lose jobs. And is the city going to hold them? Is there any way to hold that company to the number, since they got that $1 million from the city, or not from the city, I know, from the gambling grant money, since they got a lot of money from the state incentives, I'm wondering if there's any way to guarantee that they're going to create that number of jobs. I guess I'm out of time with that 7 minutes. I guess I'm not gonna be able to weigh in the budget at all, but,
Regarding this time increase, Mr. Troy,
could you speak into the microphone, please?
regarding the time increase that you're suggesting?
What about that?
This has been discussed amongst council before. The majority of us agree that 5 minutes is plenty of time for you to get your point across and to talk to us, in an efficient manner, effective manner.
It's not enough. I have another topic to speak on, I don't get a chance to talk.
Okay, regarding the budget hearing, it was advertised. One person came to speak to the budget hearing,
I was here 2 minutes late, I didn't get to speak.
which I was surprised about, that only one person spoke. Now, with that being said, if you can't make the meeting, you can fill out the form ahead of time. If you think you're gonna be a couple minutes late, you can fill that out online.
I didn't know that.
Also,
I was told by Mr. Ryan it was okay to come a little late, but probably would speak.
well, you showed up during the work session, and like I said, it ended.
Right here, 6:10 or 6:12.
Let me answer you, Mr. Chairman. And then, also, if you feel that the 5 minutes isn't enough, you can call me. I'm your council person, or you can send me an email, that you can send me paragraphs with your thoughts. I'm always available, you can call any of us, if you want all of us to hear
They
your
have
thoughts
to vote
regarding
on
the
it.
budget. Yes, that's what I'm saying, you can call every one of us if you want, or you can send us all an email, and tell us your thoughts. That might even be more effective.
Somehow I can have a feeling like I wouldn't get the vote.
Well, you still have the right to say your thoughts, and like I said, you have the right to contact us. That's what we're here for. And then, Mr. Wall, you want to speak at all regarding the Berkshire Hathaway deal?
We've talked about it quite frequently. I appreciate your comments and your opinion on that. Again, we supported the move of Berkshire Hathaway downtown. We think it's part of what's going to save and our financial situation. They're going to pay taxes. They're going to shop at the businesses downtown. They're going to eat at the restaurants downtown. These are people that are going to be in the city of Wilkes-Barre. We think it was a great move. Again, we can agree to disagree on that, but we've talked numerous times about that, and I still think it's great.
Thank you.
Mr. Troy? Mr. Troy?
Yeah.
Okay, I know we talked, as you mentioned a couple of times, prior to Monday's combined public hearing and work session. What we talked about was if you came in late, just to set the record straight, you always give your opinion, Mr. Troy. And first of all, I want to say that I respect you very much. I know you're an advocate, advocate for the people, and I respect that. And you always are polite and respectful. So I want to get that on the record. But what we talked about was if you came in late during the public hearing on the mayor's proposed budget, would you be able to speak on it? That's what you asked me.
Right.
I said yes, which is true. Okay, you would have been able to speak on it if that public hearing was still in session when you came in. Okay? Unfortunately, as the chairperson Gilbert said, there was only one person that spoke. The public hearing is as long as the people speak at the public hearing. Okay? There was only one speaker, so as was reported in the paper, it was over in 13 minutes. By my clock, you came in 15 minutes. So you missed the public hearing by 2 minutes. Okay? That's unfortunate. It was nobody's intention to do that, so you wouldn't be able to speak. You just were not here on time. And that's your responsibility to know when something like a public hearing or a regular meeting or work session starts, and it's your responsibility to be here on time. It's not, I didn't make it, I'm sorry, you guys are at fault. But that's what you seem to apply. And I'm sorry, but you're wrong, Mr. Troy.
Oh, that's
And
right.
I know you have your opinion, everybody has an opinion, but when you make your comments, they're just opinions. That's all. And everybody else has opinions also. So, your opinions don't count any more than anybody else. But they do count equally.
And
And also, let me finish.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. Also, I was going to say what Chairperson Gilbert said, is that if you need more time, I was going to suggest, as Ms. Gilbert did, that any time council has mentioned this on numerous occasions, you can call council, you can call city administration. You've done it. You've called me many times. We have nice exchanges. You know, I can give you as much information as I have available to me. And I know you're appreciative of that. Okay, so you have other avenues. It's also brought up many times, as Ms. Gilbert said, to give more time. First of all, there was never 7 minutes. It was 10 minutes prior to being cut back to 5 minutes. It was never 7. And it's a known fact, scientifically, there's been scientific studies on this, that when people take more than 5 minutes to present something, they end up repeating themselves. And over the years, I myself personally have seen that happen over and over and over again. There's a couple of people
I wouldn't
tend to do that.
I wouldn't repeat myself, just so you would know.
I'm not saying you do, I'm saying I know there are some people
Can
that
you
do
show me
that
the studies?
consistently.
Show me those studies. You said it's a scientific fact.
All right, thank you.
Can I just make, like,
Which I can have back and forth,
that's it? I'll wait for the shout.
okay? Frank Monda,
Just give me a second.
Hi, how are you? I've been a resident of Wilkes-Barre like 15 years now. Myself and my family have been very proactive. We live in South Wilkes-Barre, the corner of South Franklin, Garfield, and South River. So you know when South River ends, it comes into Franklin Street. Well, the reason I'm here today is I went down to the traffic committee 2 months ago, and this is my third attempt. 10 years ago I tried. I've been living on that corner for 15 years. It's a really dangerous corner as far as traffic is concerned. The corner of my house, I brought pictures, and you can pass it around. The corner of my house is a bus stop right in front of my house. And the children get there in the morning. There's a lot of kids, maybe around 30 kids. And then in the afternoon, the bus comes in the middle of the street and drops them all off. Now, if all of you live in Wilkes-Barre, I'm sure you've gone through that street. You come down South Franklin Street, South River Street, and you want to go to Wood Street, or you want to go to Main Street. Everybody barrels through South River, down. Actually, somebody was telling me the other day, a police officer that I picked up, and he said to me that they call Franklin Street the Franklin Thoroughfare. And this is a policeman. They joke about it. Because it is, from Wood Street to Academy Street, it's like nonstop. We've had so many accidents on that corner over the years. And when I went to the traffic committee, I spoke, and they agreed to do an investigation for them till the next meeting, which I was happy. So they all came out 3 weeks later, and actually Mike was also there, and they came in the morning, and they there 25 minutes, 30 minutes. And at one point I went over, I offered donuts and coffee, and one of the people, I won't name him, he said, oh, well, this doesn't seem to be such a bad corner. There's other corners in the city that are really bad. And I said, really? I said, there's 4-way stop signs in the city on streets that are so quiet, and my corner is so busy that we have children, and you can't even cross the street. Just tonight, coming across the street to get to my car. Cars don't stop. They don't stop, they don't pay. Everybody's in a rush. Everybody's crazy. So Bill Harris wrote me after they denied it. They denied it, and they said that they found no reason. But Bill Harris also sent me a report within the last year that there were 3 accidents. So I said, well, 3 accidents in 1 year, but I've been living there 15 years. There's been so many accidents on that corner. Even the one time the car jumped the curb, hit my porch, and dislodged the brownstone. It's just crazy. And I can't see why a 4-way stop sign won't help that corner. They came up, Bill Harris wrote me with putting a children's sign and painting the yellow where you can't park. I said, how is that going to stop the craziness that goes on in that corner? It's just crazy. And in 15, 20 minutes of their time does not reflect me living there, me and my neighbors. They went up to some of the people, the parents were all going up and saying, this is a dangerous corner, dangerous corner. So it's like, I appreciated them coming out, but I live there. I know what that corner is like. I did a petition, 300 signatures I got last time. And they told me they won't put, PennDOT won't put stop signs to curtail speeding. Well, it's not about speeding. It's about people being cautious and driving and being courteous. They're not courteous anymore. That corner is so bad. And I can't see how a four-way stop sign will just make it better and the situation would be much better. Bill Harris did write me, and he did mention that he said that they came back in the afternoon, and he did confirm that the speeding is an issue on South Franklin, and Mr. Nasing suggested the police department post mobile speed signs on the street or a police presence at the time of day. Well, that's not enough. Because it happens all day, it happens at night, it happens at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's just like, with a four-way stop sign, yes. Four-way, everybody has to stop. The problem is River Street, they come shooting out of River Street, and the accident is always that way because Franklin has the right of way. But the thing is that nobody pays them. People on Franklin Street think it's a thoroughfare, and they come down 60 miles an hour. The people on River Street are coming out, and they think they can swerve the corner and come onto Franklin and cut right through. And there's accidents. And what are we waiting for? Some child to be hit on the bicycle? I just think a four-way stop sign would make things better. You know? And another thing, and also myself and my family have been fighting crime in that area over the years. I've been so involved. So I kind of feel that this is something I'm looking out for my neighbors, not just for myself.
Now, would this be up for council's vote? Or would you still?
for appeals.
I mean, I personally have no issue with it. I know that's your district.
Right, I was, as Mr. Wanda said, I was at that committee, when the traffic committee met there, like 8 or 8:30 one
Yeah.
day it was.
Yeah.
At the time, it was not very much traffic. But I'm very familiar, and it is exactly like he says. It is, but see, I think the biggest problem there is the staggered side streets. Right. Nobody knows which turn it is, if you will, as you come to it. And as you pull out, because its vision is terrible, you can't see cars coming down, and that's probably why the accidents are. Cars are coming out from the side streets, and they cannot see this car flying down. They would have to stop it, you would have that, you know, in the pocket there. But I do have to agree with him, and I would advise that we approve it.
Can I say
Put
something?
it on the next.
I'm just sorry. Bill Harris.
Put it on the next agenda.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Bill Harris, I went to see him today, and Bill Harris said because he told me to come here, he said the only people who I could appeal it is to go to the city council.
Yeah.
And he says if they do approve it, he says advise them that they should do a 90-day probationary period to observe the street sign, and then afterwards they could do a report and see how the effects of having the four-way stop sign in that corner would, if it's beneficial for the area, which I think it would be.
Aren't every stop sign kept her?
I think so, until they.
Yeah, that's.
Everyone
standard
has a 90-day trial period.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's then, you know, my role then is I go by the people who live there. I mean, if you think a stop sign should be there, you live there, you know, we don't live there. I think that you know better than anyone, even the experts who come to do a study.
Well, and the thing is, it's not just myself. You know, a lot of the people in here are working class, and everybody knows me in the area, and I'm an advocate for my neighborhood. And the thing is, so I make it a point of doing this, and it's not just for me. It's for the people. It's for the children. It's to make the neighborhood safe. We have lots of problems in South Wilkes-Barre, especially South Franklin. Well, let's make it better that it's decent to walk around, that you can't cross the street and run, that they're not stopping their cars.
I appreciate your advocacy.
And Frank, thanks for keeping one of the nicest houses looks for you.
Thanks, I try every day. I always say that people are throwing their garbage out, and it's great when you're standing out there and they open their windows and they just dump their McDonald's right on your corner. Love it.
Frank, I'm familiar with that area a little bit because I do travel that way. So Franklin Street's just one way going north. Does anybody come down on south on Franklin? There's two ways there? Okay, so you would need one stop. Now, the River Street, when you come out on River Street, once you hit Franklin, there is a stop sign.
Yeah.
If I'm coming in from South Main towards your house, that's also two ways. I can go out South Main or I can come in from South Main, correct?
That's too right.
So there's one stop sign on the corner of River there, so you would need one to stop people coming down Franklin, going up Franklin, so that would be the
It's-
only two you would need.
Just listening to you speak, it's confusing. It's really a bad corner. And I think something needs to be done, because in my retrospect, if we at least try it, and it works, and at least curtails, okay, they say speeding is, PennDOT's not gonna do it for speeding. But that's a big problem. They think it's a thoroughfare, that you're standing out there and I'm sweeping and they go, wow. And I looked and said, wow, they could, it's really bad. It really is bad.
Well, we'll have it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it. Have a good evening and happy Thanksgiving.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Excuse me. Brian came out here. He pretended he was disinterested.
I adhere to the 5-minute limit speech. You've been back and forth here for the last 15, 20, 25 minutes. You went non-stop explaining your opinion. This gentleman just spent about 5 or 10 minutes, or more than 10 minutes, giving his time. Why am I restricted? Is it because you don't like what I have to say? Or is it because I'm hitting you in the sore spot and you don't like it? So you don't even remark, you don't even respond.
The meeting was adjourned, Mr. Walsh.
But why didn't you adjourn when the other gentleman was speaking?
Because you already said you've already spoken tonight. You
Well, Mr. Katalowski stood up here 2 or 3 different times.
He spoke on pending legislation and then he gave his normal presentation, the normal 5-minute presentation.
Mr. Kozlowski spent more than 10 minutes with the 2 times that he spoke here speaking. So Mr. Kozlowski has plenty of time to speak.
I don't know what it is, but why do you restrict me so much and you want to...
It's not just you, Mr.